full disclosure, I own a Super Nintendo and I own the original cartridge for Zelda, Legend of Zelda on NES, but there's a very specific mechanic I want to make here. First, I have to get the player moving like that, which shouldn't be too hard, but it is this, the sword beam. And yeah, so when Link, the player, has full health, it'll shoot out a beam from his sword, and it won't be able to do it again unless the beam is completely disintegrated from the screen. So you see over here at the right side of the screen, it'll let me just keep doing it. If I move farther back, like, it won't let me do it right away, but as soon as it goes away. But if I do it on this side where I aim to the left and hit, it's just, it won't let me like shoot the beam out again. And I'm going to attempt to set that up really quick. So start off with the movement first. Okay, so it seems I've got the movement set up, and I can only move in one direction at a time, not diagonally, just like in the original game does. Alright, so that's set up, and how I did that was just basically made just very oversimplified script. So we got a rigid body that controls the player, and then a speed, and just basically hold down whatever key. So W would send the player in the Y velocity, and then S would be the opposite direction, A would be to the right, and D would be to the left. So now I gotta set up where the thing goes pew pew, shoots out a little beam basically. Now I got the sword set up to where it changes the location, not location, but the rotation of which way the player is going. So if I'm moving up, the sword will be up, down, left, right, you know, just like that. And what I did was I made a little pivot point right here. So you got the sword over here outside of the pivot point. Well, I mean, it's within the pivot point, but it's off centered from it. But basically, even if I change it like that, it'll, yeah, so rotation will change with the player and fixate on it. But to basically what I did was I made, like, you know, game object pivot point, and basically whichever way the player is facing. So if I hit W, it's going to change the rotation point of this object to 180, which you can't really see it there, but let me see if I can't fixate this. But basically if the player moves up, you know, the pivot point's at 180 right there, and I move down and it's at 0 left, which would be negative 90 or 270, and then over here it's 90 if the player turns right. Turn this back. Should be fine, but yeah. But yeah, right here is where it's at. So I also made it where there's an attack timer, so the player can't spam the sword, and they won't be able to move while the sword is attacking. Yeah. So like once the timer reaches 0, the player can, you know, attack again. Should probably change. I don't know if 35 is too much, but I mean that's really something to worry about later. Now I need to set up like an actual projectile. Okay, it seems to be set up right. Let me test it out. So there, point up. Yeah, it's working. All right, so if I head down, shoot down. Yep, there we go. Alright, so how I did this was I made a position for the sword to pop out. So I don't have gizmos turned on. There we go. I made a position for where the actual game object gets popped out, and you see how it's like rotating with the player. So if I attack and it's still on the screen, and if I keep attacking, it's not gonna spawn a second one. That's where the position is, and it rotates with the not the player itself, but with the sword pivot position. So if I go and show the script, so we got the sword pivot, the projectile, the sword, where that yellow thing that's popping out, that right there, and the position of it, which is this piece right here, so that way it doesn't spawn inside of the player. But basically I made a empty array game object for the projectiles, and it finds, you know, anything with this tag on it. So any game object that has the sword projectile tag, it adds it to the list of the array. And as long as that object is on the screen or in the scene anywhere, it will add it to the array, and it can't instantiate or create a second like sword projectile. So as long as it's at 0 or less, for some reason -1, I don't think it would ever hit that, but yeah, as long as it's at 0 or less, it's going to instantiate it, and if it's higher than it, no matter what, it's going to not instantiate it. So if I delete it, attack, it's going to put it there, and keep attacking. It doesn't let me spawn anything else. Now what I need to do is, since it's putting it at the rotation of the player, so if I attack to the right, it will put it at the 90 over here. Then if I attack forward, it will put it up there. Sorry, I'm like thinking while recording, which probably shouldn't be. It put it at the 180. So what I need to do is get the rigid body to just basically push it into the forward direction of which way it spawns. So okay, I got the projectile set up, but I don't. It works, but just not the way that I want it to. It's like it gets the speed over time instead of rather just instant speed. But that'll have to work for now. But I mean, I basically just made a regular, just really tiny script, you know, just at the start of it, just destroy the game object so I don't have to keep destroying it myself, and then gave it a add force, and for the transform.up, so that'd be basically any, just whatever direction the player's facing. And I put it into the negative speed for some reason. It has something to do with the rotation of this, but I mean, that doesn't really affect it. It's just, it still sends it in the direction that it's supposed to. So if I head to the right, yeah. But now what I need to do is make it where if it collides with any object besides the player, it will destroy it instantly, and then it'll also make the explodey effect. So if we go back to the game and we attack something, or not attack, but it collides with something, it does the collides with the wall anyway. But like if it hits a enemy, it will do the same thing. So can't do it now, but yeah, we get the idea. Alright, so now I got it set up to where it will destroy itself upon impact. But now a step further would be setting a timer. Once it's destroyed, that's when that I am able to do it again, so that way it will have a cooldown after the explosion happens. Alright, so I got the timer thing set up, and that's basically it. I don't know how well it's showing up. You can see it over here. You can see the timer just going down, but like once you shoot and hit something, the timer will go to, like, I made it like a 15th of a second, which might be a little too rough, but like, yeah, I mean, the only thing to change now would be like adding a health, which, yeah, let me do that right now. Yeah, alright, so I made the player health, you know. Player's health is over here. Put it onto the player, and max health and HP, right? So, see how I can keep shooting projectile, but if the health is anywhere below the max health, the player can no longer shoot the projectile. Oops. And let's see what happens if I do it while the projectile's out. Yeah, let's see here. So the projectile gets destroyed after a second, which I don't know if that's probably the best solution, but no, it's fine. Yeah, so yeah, I made it where the player can't shoot when its health is less than max. I guess the projectile gets destroyed when it collides with any object. See, there's not even a tag on this, it's just a simple box collider on it, but like it should work with any type of like 2D collider in this setting. And the same thing can apply with like a 3D plane of a 3D game, but if you're working in a 3D game, it would basically be the same thing. All you have to do is just change up the rotation of the game object instead of like it being on just a 2D plane of existence. So yeah, I mean, that's the only thing left would be polish, maybe adding an enemy with health or anything with health, really. Yeah, no, yeah, let me do that right now. This video is getting a little dragged out, but it'll be fun. Okay, so I keep saying I'm gonna end the video and then just keep adding onto it and doing more and more. But I made the enemy health script, so right over here you got the enemy health, and I gave each one based on the color. So red has 1, yellow 2, and blue has 5, because for some reason blue enemies in Zelda games are just, yeah, the most healthiest. But basically, so we got this enemy with 2 health, hit it with the sword projectile, -1, and gets destroyed. Over here, I'm gonna walk up to him and be like, hit him with the sword, and he's dead. Projectile can still do that. And then we got the blue one, so I'm gonna walk up to it, hit it with the sword. Notice how it only missed 1 health, even with the projectile there. So you go over here and hit it with the projectile, 2, 1. Once it hits 0 health, it gets destroyed. So yeah, I mean, everything seems to be working for the most part. Can't really tell any difference here, but yeah, I mean, I got pretty much a fully functioning Master Sword working with health variables. Cool.